Every year I have gardeners that come in and they're super concerned about their squashes, whether it's their zucchinis or their pumpkins or their winter squashes, and they've been just performing great. They've been just ready to start harvesting, and all of a sudden the plants just die almost overnight. And it's a pretty common problem that we deal with. And if you see your plants doing this, that's pretty common for a little bit of what we call squash bug damage. And squash bugs are very common in Cache Valley. They attack all kinds of summer squash, so zucchinis and crooknecks, as well as your winter squash, banana squash, Hubbards, butternuts, and also pumpkins. But the plants look great one day, and then the next day they just start wilting like crazy and they don't come back. And so squash bugs have a real unique look to them. They look kind of like, there we go, they look kind of like an elongated stink bug, but they are darker brown. They've got kind of a diamond pattern on the back, and they're probably about an inch long or so, and those are the adults. What they do is they kind of hang out underneath the squash during the day, and then they'll sting the plant just right where the vines come up out of the soil, and if they sting the vine enough, it will do enough damage that the water and nutrient can't run up through the plant, and all of a sudden the plant will really start to wilt. And the young, like the nymphs, look like that. So they're a little bit smaller, a little bit grayer, and a little harder to detect. The eggs that they lay are usually on the undersides of the leaves, and they're a bright orange color. So bright orange. You can squish those eggs when you notice them. Just take your finger and your thumb and just squish those eggs. But if you don't, all of a sudden you'll have nymphs all over the place, and those nymphs turn into the adults, and they do a lot of damage on your squash, your plants. Seriously, they'll look great one day, and the next day they'll be laying on the ground. And squash bugs are pretty damaging for a lot of gardeners in Cache Valley, and they're difficult to control, so not a lot of insecticides work really well on them. One that's an all-natural one is the Triple Action Plus. This is from Fertilome. Not as effective on killing the adults, but very effective on the nymphs and also on killing the eggs. So this has neem oil and pyrethrum in it, and fairly effective on controlling the squash bugs if you get them early. So if you start early, usually we'll try and spray the ground around the plants and the vines right where they come up out of the ground, and then try and do a little bit of spray up underneath the leaves, and that's the best way to use the Triple Action. So it does a great job to really help prevent the squash bugs. But if they have gotten a little bit more aggressive and all of a sudden you've got adults out there and you really see tons of them, a product like the broad spectrum insecticide from Fertilome, a little bit more potent. And we also have the indoor outdoor from High Yield. These are two stronger products, but still very, very safe to use on fruits and vegetables. This contains permethrin, the indoor outdoor. Excellent product, very broad spectrum. You can use it on all kinds of fruits and vegetables, as well as lawns and flowers and shrubs and trees. The broad spectrum from Fertilome is really nice because it's in a ready to use format. You can spray right up underneath the leaves. You can spray right where the vines come up out of the soil. You can spray the soil around it. Both these products very, very effective on the adult squash bugs as well as the nymphs. And best thing to do is to always end up squishing those eggs when you see them. But if you've had that problem and didn't know what it was, start watching for those bugs. Look for those brown kind of stink bug looking adults with that little diamond pattern on the back, and they're doing some damage to your squash. And we've got some options here at Anderson Seed and Garden to get those squash bugs under control, and you can keep harvesting and enjoying your squash for the rest of the summer.